Explosive revelations about Wilfried Nancy's time at Celtic are coming out, and they paint a shocking picture of what went wrong behind the scenes. We're talking training ground disasters, Aberdeen eyeing one of our defenders, and the truth about why key backroom staff were almost forced out. It's been a dramatic 24 hours, but first make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Stephen McGowan has revealed that Paul Tisdale privately promoted Wilfried Nancy as a stronger fit for Celtic than Brendan Rodgers, before both he and Nancy were removed from their roles. The disclosure sheds new light on how decisions were being framed inside the club during a turbulent period. At the time, Celtic were searching for direction after a difficult summer and a breakdown in trust between the board and supporters. The appointment of Nancy was presented as a bold move that aligned with a wider strategy being shaped behind the scenes. Tisdale had been brought in to modernise football operations and improve recruitment. Instead, his early months coincided with confusion, frustration, and growing concern among supporters about the club's direction. McGowan's report places a key moment under the spotlight, showing how internal messaging differed sharply from what supporters were seeing on the pitch. It also highlights how quickly confidence in senior figures collapsed once results and performances failed to improve. He said the morning after they lost the Premier Sports Cup to St Mirren, Celtic's head of football operations, Paul Tisdale, addressed a group of influential supporters. Like Nancy, the Englishman was a curious appointment. Despite reinventing himself as a consultant, spells at Exeter City, MK Dons, Bristol City, and Stevenage offered no hint of a technical director in waiting. Tisdale had already overseen a dysfunctional summer window and failed to modernise or improve a recruitment system not fit for purpose. Data, bought and paid for, went unused as subjective judgments were reached on targets. After recommending Nancy for the job, Tisdale told the audience of well-heeled supporters that the Frenchman bought into the club's strategy in a way Brendan Rodgers never did. The comments give rare insight into how Rodgers was viewed internally toward the end of his second spell. Despite his success, there was clearly a belief in some quarters that his approach no longer matched the club's long-term plans. That belief proved costly. Nancy's short time in charge quickly unravelled, and the idea that he was a better strategic fit failed to translate into results or stability. Tisdale's role also came under intense scrutiny as the season drifted. Questions around recruitment, planning, and the use of data became louder with each passing week. The fact that both men are now gone underlines how badly the gamble failed. What was presented as a clear strategic vision collapsed under pressure from poor performances and supporter unrest. McGowan's reporting shows that the issues ran deeper than one bad run of games. They were rooted in how decisions were justified and communicated at senior level. For many supporters, the revelation confirms long-held suspicions about disconnects inside the club. Trust was damaged not just by results, but by the sense that lessons from the past were being ignored. With both Tisdale and Nancy now out of the picture, Celtic have moved to steady the situation under familiar leadership. The focus has shifted back to stability and short-term recovery. However, the episode leaves lasting questions about governance and judgment. It serves as a warning about forcing ideology over experience at a club where pressure is constant. McGowan's account pulls back the curtain on a critical moment. It shows how quickly confidence can turn to disbelief when strategy and reality drift too far apart. Now for the main story, as journalist Anthony Joseph has reported that Celtic defender Stephen Welsh is attracting interest from Aberdeen as the January transfer window develops. The centre-back is currently on loan at Motherwell, where he's been enjoying a steady run of games and rebuilding momentum away from Parkhead. Welsh's situation has drawn attention because Celtic still retain control over his short-term future. The club have a recall option that can be activated before the middle of January, which gives them flexibility if circumstances change quickly. Aberdeen's interest comes at a time of transition for the Pittodrie club following managerial change earlier this month. With defensive stability a clear priority, Welsh has emerged as a player they admire and believe could fit into their plans. For Celtic, the situation is not urgent, but it is active. Welsh is a player the club value for his attitude and professionalism, even if his long-term future may lie away from Glasgow due to competition for places. It's understood Aberdeen are keen on a permanent deal for Welsh, but it could be difficult as he's settled at Motherwell. Welsh's loan spell at Motherwell has been viewed positively by all parties involved. Regular football has allowed him to regain rhythm and confidence after a period where opportunities at Celtic were limited. From Celtic's perspective, the arrangement has worked as intended so far. The club have been able to monitor his development closely while keeping their options open during a busy transfer window. Aberdeen's interest adds another layer to that decision-making process. A permanent move would represent a fresh start for Welsh, but it would also require careful consideration given his current comfort and form at Fir Park. The coming days are likely to be decisive, especially with the recall deadline approaching. Whether Welsh remains at Motherwell, moves to Aberdeen, or stays within Celtic's plans, his future is set to become one of the quieter but more intriguing stories of the window. In other news, Stephen McGowan has revealed that long-running rumours around Stevie Woods' future at Celtic during Wilfried Nancy's brief reign were reportedly grounded in reality. The situation formed part of a wider breakdown in trust between the new regime and established figures behind the scenes. Wilfried Nancy arrived at Celtic with his own ideas and staff, but the transition was not smooth for everyone already at the club. For some long-serving members, the change brought uncertainty rather than clarity. Stevie Woods had been a constant presence at Lennox Town for nearly 2 decades. As Celtic's goalkeeping coach, he had worked under multiple managers and was widely respected within the club and dressing room. McGowan's reporting suggests that Woods' standing did not protect him from scrutiny under the new setup. Instead, his position became one of several flashpoints during a short and unsettled period. He said, despite 18 years as Celtic's goalkeeping coach, Stevie Woods was challenged to prove himself all over again to the new regime. Rumours of a departure became a weekly soap opera with more twists and turns than River City. The uncertainty around Woods reflected the wider atmosphere during Nancy's time in charge. Established routines were disrupted, and familiar relationships were put under strain almost immediately. In other news, Stephen McGowan has revealed a striking behind-the-scenes detail from Wilfried Nancy's short and turbulent time at Celtic, one that summed up the growing disconnect between the coaching staff and an experienced dressing room. His account focuses on a training ground moment that was witnessed by broadcast crews and quickly became symbolic of wider concerns. Wilfried Nancy arrived at Celtic with a clear philosophy and confidence in his methods, but adapting those ideas to an elite and demanding environment proved difficult. The gap between intention and reception appeared early, especially among senior players used to a high level of detail and trust. James Forrest stood at the centre of one such moment, a player whose career at Celtic spans more than a decade and a half. At 34, Forrest remains one of the most experienced figures at the club and is still regarded as effective on the ball, relying on movement, awareness, and decision-making rather than raw pace. The incident described by McGowan did not take place behind closed doors, but in front of cameras allowed limited access to training. That visibility meant the moment was not just internal, but one that reflected how Nancy and his staff approached even the most established players. He said, broadcasters are granted access to training for the first 15 minutes the day before a game, and cameras pictured Nancy pausing a box rondo warm-up exercise to lecture James Forrest, one of the most decorated players in club history, on how to open up his body and receive the ball. Assistant manager Kwame Ampadu was equally prone to teaching international footballers how to suck eggs. Forrest's status at Celtic makes the episode notable. He is a player who has worked under multiple managers, delivered in domestic and European competition, and adapted his game over time to remain useful at the highest level in Scotland. So there you have it, another dramatic day in the world of Celtic. From shocking revelations about what really went on under Nancy, to Aberdeen's interest in Stephen Welsh, and the truth about Stevie Woods nearly being pushed out. It's clear the club went through absolute chaos behind the scenes. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more daily Celtic news. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think about these Nancy revelations. Were you surprised by what went on at training? Let's discuss. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hail, hail.